All right, so we're gonna get ready to TIG weld. One of the things you gotta make sure is that your work clamp is always attached to your table. If you don't have your work clamp attached, you can't do any work. Next, you wanna make sure that your TIG torch is in operation. Okay, so now that we've inserted our tungsten into our torch, our work clamp is attached to the table, our gas is turned on. I have a piece of 3 30-second filler rod. And for me, I don't really like how long these usually are. And the booths are kind of tight. So I will usually cut it approximately in half. I will set that other piece of filler rod off to the side, and I'll worry about one. Here I got 2 pieces of plate. They're approximately 2 to 3 inches wide and 4 to 6 inches long. We're going to use this for our first set of welds, and all we're going to try and do right now is weld some puddles without filler rod. And essentially I want to go just the 3-inch way. I'm not going to try and go a 6-inch weld just yet. I have my marker or soapstone, some sort of marking utensil, and I want to put a nice straight line that I can try and follow. And in about 1/4 inch away from that one, or 3/8 of an inch, I want to put another one. And then lastly, I'll do one more. So now with a marker or a soapstone, I've made 3 parallel lines. I'm going to grab my welding helmet, make sure it's on, make sure it's on the appropriate shade, 10. Some of you may like a shade 9. We're not using very high amperage right now, so either one of those 2 should be appropriate. Secure my welding helmet on. Holding the TIG torch is a preference. Whether you're right-handed or left-handed, it may even be different when you weld. Do whatever feels comfortable to hold the torch about 15 to 30 degrees off of 0. Straight in being 0, 15 to 30 degrees off. And we always push towards where we're pointing. So the electrode is pointing that way, and that's the way I want to go if I'm holding it in my left hand. And if I'm holding my torch in my right hand, it's pointing out to my left, and I want to go towards my left. Dragging is not really preferred. We want to try and focus our heat to where we want to go. First thing I'm going to do with lift arc is I'm going to rest the cup on the metal so that the metal is secured to the table. And then I usually rock and touch the tungsten to the metal and then lift off. Once the arc initiates, then I readjust my hand real quick and then I start moving the puddle along. We want the puddle right now to be about 1/4 inch wide when we're not using filler metal. Once we start adding filler metal, that puddle will narrow up. The puddle is quenched or cooled down by the filler metal that we add into it. So we're going to try doing just some straight beads, not really worrying about adding filler rod right now. We want to just get used to moving a puddle along and watching the puddle. And you want to get comfortable. For me, going straight across is not as comfortable. My hand tends to reach. I actually like to twist my plate about 45 degrees or so in front of me so that I can roll my wrist towards me. That feels much more comfortable for me. Do what feels good for you. So I'm going to, again, touch my cup down to the side. As I get ready to weld, I make sure I say welding or cover so that those in the vicinity around me know to avert their eyes and not look at the arc. Cover. As we watch, we can see that puddle get about 1/4 inch wide. I can readjust my hand, and now I'm going to slowly push it along, trying to maintain the puddle about 1/4 inch wide. The faster I go, the narrower the puddle. The slower I go, the wider. When we get to the end, pull away abruptly, and then hover the torch above your puddle so that it continues to shield the molten puddle while you finish. We'll do 2 more. Cover. And
effectively. Terminate by extinguishing the arc far enough away that it stops. And our last one.
All right. Now that you welded about 3 beads, it's time to go quench your metal. As your metal gets really, really hot, the puddle starts to flow even more, and it can get out of control. You can always adjust your amperage to kind of put this at bay, but when possible, it's best to just quench your metal. Be right back. You'll notice that some of the metal has rust on it, and some of the metal is nice and clean. For the metal that we TIG weld on, we want it to be nice and clean. So if it's really rusty, like the back side of this plate, I would take a grinder and I would clean that off, or a wire wheel or brush, and brush off as much of that rust as possible. Ideally, I want you to fill up all of one side with these practice beads without filler on your first day. After that, we'll start adding filler. Know that as you weld across this clean side, the back side will be heating up, and it will be oxidized because there is no shielding gas on the back side. When you flip your plate over to weld on the back side of it, you'll also need to grind this away and clean it up. We should be able to fill the whole front side and back side with beads with and without filler. After you've done several beads without filler and you're comfortable pushing the puddle along, it's now time to try and add some filler. Typically what I like to do again is either with my filler rod holding the metal down and I lift off, or again using the rock, touch, and lift method, I will initiate the arc. As I get the puddle, I am going to feed the filler rod into the liquid puddle. I'm going to try and focus on the leading edge of that puddle, just dabbing it ever so slightly as I go across. Because we're using such a big piece of filler, we shouldn't need to work on feeding the filler rod, but this is something you can take a piece of home and practice feeding. There's a lot of different methods out there. Find one that fits for you. So we're going to try doing a bead with filler. Cover? After the puddle is cooled down, you can pull your torch away and you can look. Ideally, we want to see a consistent width and ripple shape in your bead. This will come with lots of practice. We want to fill the whole front side and back side with beads, both with filler and without filler. Your assignment is to pass off 3 beads with filler.